hopefully you all can see those slides then. And hopefully you see just the slides. Is that what everybody's seeing, slides? Cool.
Fantastic.
I'll just say this, I'm not going to be great at monitoring the chat, as you all know, because you've been in this role, you're in presenter mode, you can't see everything. So if something comes up in the chat, Trevor or anybody else, feel free to interrupt me. I won't feel bad about that. I think it's hard that I'll have time for questions at the end, but if it's a question about what we're talking about, then we have to go back. Sometimes it leads to more confusion. So feel free to interrupt me. I won't take it as a negative. In fact, it's highly welcomed. I can talk at you, but I'd rather talk with you. That's the way I would prefer to have things go. You're the experts in your community, so we want to hear from you. And again, you can drop something in the chat. Again, I won't see it probably, so feel free to raise a hand, interrupt me if needed. Don't feel bad about it. Okay, we're going to talk about a little bit who we are, where the foundation's been, where we're going, and most importantly, which everyone really wants to know, is how do I apply for the funding, right? And so we'll be sure to provide that information too, and then I'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end. And this is our founders here standing in front of their home in Yakutat. So who are we? Our vision is an Alaska where people, cultures, and communities are thriving. And our mission is that we invest, connect, and convene. We empower Alaskans to help each other. And so the mission of the foundation is really, really, really large. And so there's really good in that and really challenge in that. People ask, what do you fund? And the answer is it good for Alaskans, right? And if it's good for Alaskans, then the foundation will likely fund it. And so we don't have a narrow scope. There isn't an area that we're, totally focused on. We really view that all things that benefit Alaskans are worth funding. And so we fund a really broad range of different grants. These are our values. I think it's important to know for you all that this is how we hope we show up in communities. This is how we plan to show up in communities when you interact with us and partner with us, see us at convenings or conferences or apply for a grant, that we hope that these values come through to you. These are the values that we hold as a foundation and how we work with one another. All the way from collaboration, celebrating you all. We understand that the work that's done is really done by you in the community. And so we want to celebrate you and that great work that you're doing, and embrace our diversity through our communities and all these other things. So hopefully you see these values reflected when you go through the grant process, when you interact with us, because they're really what guide the work that we do. A brief part about our history. Jenny Olson and E.A. Rasmuson met in Yakutat and married in 1905. And Jenny, who's here pictured on the left, created the Rasmuson Foundation in 1955 with only $3,000, and her son Elmer was the first board chair, who's the gentleman in the middle. The first grant that was ever made in the foundation was for $125 to the Wasilla Presbyterian Church to purchase a motion picture projector. And the foundation has grown since then. You'll see on the right is Ed Rasmussen. He was the board chair following Elmer. And really proud, the foundation's really proud that in 2023, we surpassed over $500 million in grant making in the state. That's a really significant number because that's more than the initial investment by the family. So the family initially invested a certain amount of money in the foundation. We've now surpassed how much the initial investment was in our giving. And so that's something that the foundation's really proud of. We're guided by a really strong board that cares deeply about the mission of the foundation. And it's a board of 12 members, 6 of which are family members and 6 who are community members. And so the board is not just family members of the Rasmussen family, but it's also community members, statewide leaders, people that you may recognize or know in these pictures. Here's the names of everyone on the board. We like to show that really the foundation does try to have on the board representation of people from different parts of the state who understand different parts of the state. So it's not all just Anchorage centric. So yeah, you have the names in blue, and for some reason Jay's name is in black, but those names in the blue are family, some of the family members. And so you can see kind of the board diversity there. This is a summary of our grant making in 2024. Again, I won't go through all the details, and you can find a lot of these details on our website, but this is the summary of the grant making in 2024. Most important to note that we give in all parts of Alaska, all over the state. Our mission is to try to make sure we do give statewide. And so If your region seems like it didn't get enough funding from us, I encourage you to apply, because that's how we make sure that we get funding into all the regions of the state. We were able to invest 17.7 million. We had assets of over 810 million that the foundation is currently holding, and 343 grants were awarded in all different sort of sectors across the state. We really try to have a high touch sort of grant making. What does that mean to us? It really just means that we want to make sure our grant making is led by the community, and that we really consult with the community in projects and in understanding what is needed. And so there's a few ways in which the board and our CEO does that. They have community conversations where they'll travel to communities and listen directly to the nonprofits or others in the community, tribal administrators, about what's happening, what are the issues that they're seeing. We bring up funders from other parts of the United States for a grant maker tour, take them around and show them around to the beautiful state and think about the ways they may want to invest in Alaskans. Those are led by our CEO with board members. Our CEO also does 10 listening sessions by region every year. Many of these are online. And so this is a great way for you to just call in and talk about what you're doing in your community so we can continue to learn about the different regions of the state. And staff availability, we visited over 35 communities last year. We have informal coffee hours. That's not uncommon. If program officers in your community follow us on social media, you'll see that we'll post there's going to be an informal coffee hour. I know I just did one in Fairbanks earlier this year. I was at Fairbanks for a site visit, and I went to a coffee shop for 2 or 3 hours, and I had people come in and talk to me about options and grant making and how the program works. And that's a great way to just come and meet somebody. We also have a booking on our website. If you go on our website, you can book time with a program officer. This is a great way if you're about to apply for a grant and you need just a little bit more information, you're considering something, you're wanting to just connect with someone and hear about, even share what your organization does, or I just had a booking where someone was stuck on the financial section of our application and just needed some guidance. We'll probably hit by the end of this year 600 bookings this year. So we spend a lot of time with community, hearing from community, helping them navigate our grant making. We're proud of that. We want to see that. So please utilize the booking function. It is the best way to connect with the foundation and to connect with a program officer. We invite conversations with our applicants. That's what we're really saying. And we do work really hard to return calls and emails that we get. So again, it goes back to those values that we shared at the beginning. We hold those values to be really important to us. And so if we're not accessible or available to you all, then we can't understand what the community needs. Then it's not community-led grant making. And that's really what the foundation is focused on. Okay, that's all about us. Now let's head into the exciting part, which you all want to hear, which is the funding, right? So any questions or any comments? Or not a lot to comment on, but okay. Let's talk about our grant making. So I opened by saying I'm a program officer on the strategy side of grant making. So what does that mean? I'm going to talk about our 2 different sort of lanes of grant making. I'm going to talk first about strategic grant making, and then I'll talk about our core grant making. Strategic grant making is by invitation only, and these are really long-term investments that create systems level change or meet the moment through partnership and collaboration with communities. So these are specific initiatives or funds approved by the board that we are doing that are into specific sort of investments in certain content areas. And so many people might be aware of the homelessness and housing initiative that's been going on for many, many years. And if you looked at a press release, we just had a board meeting. The board just voted to put $5 million more into homelessness and houselessness over the next 5 years. And so these are long-term initiatives. We also have an Alaska Long Trail investment that's focused on the Long Trail. We have a University of Alaska's Arctic Leadership Initiative, and now we have a Tending the Future Fund. And the Tending the Future Fund is the fund that I oversee that is about childcare here in the state of Alaska. So I'm going to go into details now about Tending the Future Fund. But in general, these are like initiatives and funds that if you were to go on our website, you might find details about them, but you would say, where's the application? Well, it's by invitation only. So it's important people know them, and then I'll be able to share with you how you can connect with me if you think your organization's a good fit. So let's talk about the Tending the Future Fund. The Tending the Future Fund is a fund that was approved by the board in June of 2025 as a strategic grant-making program to address local child care challenges. The fund is set to provide up to $2 million to support local leaders in child care solutions that benefit Alaska families and employers and the economy through June of 2027. And it's really important that inside of these funds, we have really specific goals and narrow windows of how we're improving the child care sector. As all of you know, the child care sector is very large, has a lot of gaps in it, has a lot of challenges in it. And so when we pass these initiatives and funds, we're not just saying $2 million to anything. It's really $2 million in a pretty narrow scope. And so I'm really going to try to, here in these next 2 slides, talk through what the fund is available for and what it can fund. And so first and foremost, our first goal was to strengthen local childcare access for Alaskans. And the board prioritized 2 areas for this. The first area was to maintain access in two specific buckets: after school care and summer camps. And so, you know, childcare is really important. I have 3 kids. They're 4, 3, and 2. So I know about childcare. I'm not like just talking about childcare. I live this every day like you all do. And so while I know there's a lot of needs in that age range or even younger age range for childcare needs to be met, we also recognize there was a really tangible impact to be made by the foundation and after school care. Following the pandemic, a number of after school programs closed, and many families rely on those after school programs to be able to stay at work following the closure of school, and for out of school hours. And so this fund is really focused on that after school care program age, and it's really about maintaining or increasing slots. So specifically, and I'll give you some examples of who we fund in the next couple slides, but specifically, you know, if there's a program right now that's thinking about reopening an after school programming or expanding after school programming, we recognize that when you open new slots in after school care, you don't reach sustainability day 1. Really, you reach sustainability maybe year 1, 2, 1 if you're really lucky, 2 more likely, 3 maybe even later, depending on the school population you're serving. And so really what the foundation is hoping to do in this fund is provide service, like some supportive dollars to help organizations in those sort of setup, you know, as you're like having to enroll students and everything else, you got to hire staff, and your numbers in your first day might not be what the number is for sustainability. And it takes time for families to plan and know you're available and all those other things. And so this is an opportunity for after school care. So I'll give you some examples of some of the programs we've helped reopen, but if you're an organization, and again, in the questions and answers, please feel free to ask them and I'll provide my information. You can talk to me also one-on-one. It'd be great to hear about what's happening in your community and after school care, because we know it is one place. The other place we recognize and that the board feels really strongly about is summer camps and the opportunity for youth to be able to have enriching summer experiences. We have chosen this year to provide our support for summer camps through the ACF Camps Initiative. So if you're not aware, it's open right now. The ACF Camps Initiative is open right now. You can go to Alaska Community Foundation's website and find that grant application. Rasmuson Foundation contributed to that fund. And so if you run a day camp, even in the summer, or an overnight camp, that would be a good way to go potentially go get some additional support for your programming. And so for now, the foundation is choosing to partner through that. It's got a great, I know some staff from the Alaska Children's Trust work on the selection committee for that. We really want experts who know about the summer camps looking, and they have a great panel. So it's really a good way for people who work in the sector to look at those applications and really determine who the best awardees are. And it's also a way for us to pool money with other funders, which is a great way to make the pot a little bit bigger. And if I come from the nonprofit world, anytime I can reduce the number of applications you have to fill out, the better. So we didn't want people filling out applications over there and then with us too. And so this is one-stop shop for summer camp funding, is through the Alaska Community Foundation. The other area this fund is set to offer opportunity for is that we believe, and we have seen some success in the state, where local communities have really stepped up and said, I think there's a local financial solution available in my community. And that could be via a local tax, that could be business incentive, that could be a business community stepping up and helping subsidize the cost of care, or business employees offering subsidies. It could be tribal funding that is available in your community that's being kicked in to help with the cost of care. And so the second part of this grant is to strengthen the local childcare access for Alaskans through summits that are solution-focused summits that will help communities develop a funding plan. And so this is for local or regional community members to come together for one day or a half a day as appropriate, to have a convening to talk about what the local funding solutions might be for their community. What's a region? What's a local community? We will really look at the community to give us that answer. We won't say this is exactly who or what size people need to be, but we really do understand that there is real solutions or potential opportunity in some of this local funding being developed. This application will open in early 2026. We're working on the request for proposals document right now. And that will be released in early 2026, and we'll give out awards in the spring of 2026. Again, those are really funding that will allow you to host like a summit or a convening to bring people together to be solutions-based, to hopefully leave with a funding plan or opportunities for where a funding plan could be developed that you could be shared with your local policymakers or your communities or others. I see your hand and I'll get right to you. It is not intended to be a professional development summit. It's not for education and training. It's really a focused summit on a conversation around this issue, around funding and coming together as a community on sort of that long-term plan. Go ahead.
Hi, Isa. Thank you. My question to you for this Solution Focused Summit funding piece, is that specific? Because earlier you had mentioned that it was specifically just for like after school care and like summer camps. If there were to be some efforts that were happening looking at solution focused efforts in a region for the 0 to 5 range, could we apply for something like this, or is it just the after school?
Thank you. That's such a good question. I'm so glad you asked it so I could clarify. The first one where we're talking about funding for opening programs that's specific to after school and summer. For this one, we're really talking about childcare along the whole spectrum. So your community might say, and every community is different. So you'll see it reflected in the RFP that we're not saying, this is exactly prescribed how it has to be. I know you're in Seward, you're on the Kenai. So maybe the Kenai's like, we really want to focus on 0 to 5. We really want to focus on 0 to 5 in Seward. And we really think there's a local Seward solution. And so that's where we're going to focus our effort. There might be another community who says, we're so close on after school care. We're like so close. And we really needed to bring people together and find a solution with our school district because we're so close. And so we want to bring school board members and everyone back so we can fix that in our community. Maybe a community wants to say, we really just need to have a conversation in general about the high cost of childcare across the whole spectrum and look for a funding answer that could cover all spectrums. So we're really looking for any summit, any convening that could be focused on a small, narrow window of the childcare issue, or it could be along the whole spectrum. So that's a great question. It's not specific to after school care, this one, in any way. And so these will be released in early 2026. I won't commit to a date because I'll be traveling a little bit over the holiday and getting back, and so it'll take some time to get our things together. I will be asking Trevor, who I think will send me the emails of the people who signed up for this. And when that comes out, I'll be happy to send you an email saying, it's been released, here it is, please take a look, share it with people you may know. And we encourage you to apply if you're interested. And I want to say too that this is really us granting money for you to host the summit and convenings. The foundation, like, I'm not expecting to be there. We're not planning to come. We really believe that local community members have these answers. And so we'll just be providing you the resource to be able to bring people, whether that's because you need travel scholarship money, you need to rent space, you need to buy the food, right? You need to hire a facilitator to help with developing the plan. That's what the funding will be used for. We are not expecting to participate in your community conversations. And it will be clear in the RFP what we do need back from you, which is a general report, but we're not expecting to be there. I want to make that clear too. We don't know the solutions, which is why our board really said, let's develop an opportunity for local communities to gather to develop their own solutions. Here's some examples of where funding has gone so far. This just opened in June, so this is really the last 6 months of the year. We were happy to partner with Red on their economic summit that just occurred. We were able to award a grant to Campfire Alaska to help them reopen 3 sites here in Anchorage for after-school care. We awarded funding to the YMCA of Alaska, who opened 3 after-school programs in Kodiak Island, which is great, who had no after-school care on the whole island. And so we're really excited to see them be able to expand there. We just provided funding to the Alaska Native Heritage Center, who will be starting an after-school program for those who were displaced out of Western Alaska. So a program specifically and culturally grounded to serve that population in after-school programming. And then we were able to contribute to the ACF Camps Initiative, like I shared about, $250,000 to the ACF Camps Initiative to help support summer camps this coming summer. So that's open, like I said, right now, and encourage people to apply if they're interested. So we have $2 million available to us through June of 2027. We'll be focusing heavily in the coming year about reopening more additional after-school programs as we can. And then, of course, these summits like I shared. All right, that's the Strategic Tending the Future Fund. I want to also talk about our core grant making, because one of the things that's really important is that I really think one of the benefits of the strategic fund and the core grant making is that if you have a strategic fund, like if I provide you funding because you're opening an after school program, it doesn't mean you can't then go apply for funding on the core grant making side. And so we want to make sure people understand both sides of grant making, because I worked in a nonprofit for many years. I was a nonprofit leader, and you're always looking around at your numbers and trying to figure out where you can move something to get this covered, to get that covered. And so there's always opportunity, and we want to make sure you understand all our grant making. So as leaders in your community, you can constantly look at your resources and sort of assess where the foundation might be able to contribute and help you maybe move some of those unrestricted dollars to areas you need. And so I want to also talk about core grant making. So yes, having a strategic grant doesn't make you ineligible for a core grant. These are all our different grant making. I'm going to kind of go through them one by one and show you some examples of the funds that we have. Here's an example of the Tier 1. The Tier 1 program is up to $35,000. And we say if you want a Tier 1, you need to be able to buy it, build it, fix it, or create it. So no programmatic asks. But here's an example, Fairbanks Ski Coalition. We provided them rental equipment so that first-time skiers could have access to equipment at a low cost to no cost so that they could get out on the ski hill. So that's something that's an example of a buy. There's lots of examples of build. You'd be hard-pressed to walk around too many places and not find a playground that the foundation potentially helped build. That's a good example of another thing we would maybe be able to build. Fix, if you have a child care center that you're operating and you have that toilet that just isn't working the way you need it to work, and it's just, you need some plumbing work done and you need a grant to do that, it's under $35,000. That's a great example of how you could potentially access a Tier 1 for us to help you do some of those upgrades. I know we just gave a grant for flooring, for example, for a child care facility that needed their flooring changed, right? And so those are all really accessible Tier 1 projects. So yeah, buy, build, fix, and create. If you're ever wondering, oh, I don't know, is it in line? Is it not in line? That's where that bookings option is a really good idea on our website. Go ahead, request time with a program officer and say, this is the project I'm working on, right? And maybe we can help you with a portion of it. Maybe we can't cover all of it. Maybe we can, but we'll be able to always be happy to chat with you and provide some guidance on making sure that it really fits into those 4 really key areas: buy, build, fix, and create for our Tier 1s. Tier 1s are available. They're always open. You can apply at any time. We try to do them about once a month, though I would say you should expect to get an answer from us within 90 days. That's usually the Tier 1 sort of timeline. Our community support grants are bigger. These are up to $250,000 for major purchases, building projects, and programmatic support. So these are much bigger asks to us. Here's an example. We gave Beacon Hill a $200,000 award to upgrade and repurpose its building space to create a family resource center and increase capacity prevention, permanency, and administrative shared services, for example. So this would be, I don't just need a toilet. I actually want to build out a whole nother classroom, right? So we have this facility. We actually want to build out a toddler room. And I want that toddler room to reopen, but it's going to cost us, $400,000 to build the toddler room. you can come to the foundation and ask for, say, 250,000 of that. For the community support level, we do expect you to have some sort of match. At the tier 1 level, we don't expect that. So at the tier 1, you don't need a match, but at the community support level, we would ask you to have a match. You can have we will fund programmatic at the community support level, but those must always go to the board. So it's quite a long timeline for them to get through. I would just say, and if you're thinking about a programmatic ask for the community support, I do recommend you talk to a program officer. We have some very specific rules around programmatic support, usually only funding like programmatic pilot grants versus we just need you to pay for our staffing because we lost a grant. That's not something that the community support level grant would be used for, but it can be a very useful tool and is available for programmatic, though the time frame is longer and has some specifics around it. So I would just recommend you talk to a program officer if you're thinking about that for your community. Finally, we have a legacy grant program. This is for significant capital and programmatic projects that are more than $250,000. Here's an example of one that was for childcare. We gave $750,000 to the First United Methodist Church of Anchorage that is renovating their unused church space into a childcare center to create 82 new slots for childcare. And so that's a big ask. Little Bears and Girdwood got a legacy grant from us as they opened up their new childcare facility in Girdwood. So if you're doing major capital, you're opening up a brand new facility, you're building it. Again, legacies would require a pretty significant funding stack. These are usually multi-million-dollar projects that are quite large, but a great option too for your community if you're looking at a big, project. These all go to the board. Legacy grants go to the board, so they do have a longer time frame. So if you're thinking about a legacy, make sure you kind of give yourself enough run time that your project, if you send us a legacy request and said I need in the next 3 months, that would be really challenging and not likely.
There's a hand up.
Yeah, please.
If it's me,
Yeah, it's you, Carrie.
I had a question about, there's a question in the chat about, are programs eligible only if they're nonprofits? Like, so who can apply for these grants that you're talking about and the grants for maintaining access and strengthening local ownership solutions for childcare?
Yeah, tribal communities, local governments, and nonprofits are all
Okay,
Yep.
And then one other question, will this slideshow be made available to us, or this recap be made available to us?
Yes, I will share out the recording and I'll get the slideshow and we'll share all of it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Good questions. Here's an example of a PRI, program-related investments. These are loans and impact investments that support charitable projects. The foundation doesn't do a lot of these every year, but we have started to do more than we did in the past. And so this is a way for us to provide a loan to somebody at a much lower interest rate than you would get from a bank. And so here's an example of how we used a PRI when the dome collapsed in 2017 that immediately affected many people across the city who were relying on it for access to soccer practices or other sports. And so a long-term low interest loan was given to the organization to support it being back online within a year. It would have taken significantly longer potentially for them to reopen their doors if the foundation hadn't been able to provide them that PRI. So we've been able to use PRIs in some creative ways. So if you're interested in that, there's a lot of information on the website, and we have some folks, again, if you're interested in a PRI, I'd encourage you to use the bookings feature to get more information about that. But it's a way for us to offer low interest loans, usually at 1% to 2% for individuals. And then the last two programs, I always just want to talk about these because I don't think anyone's more tired potentially than individuals who work in childcare. The most energized workers I've ever seen are the children who take care of my children every day. And the individuals who run those programs, the administrators, work very, very, very hard. And there is a sabbatical program for nonprofit leaders and tribal administrators to have 90 to 100 days of rest. And those awards are up to $50,000. We just announced the individuals who were awarded sabbatical this year, but there will be a new grant in 2026. So if you have a nonprofit leader or someone who works in the sector who's been in their job for, I think it's, I'll have to look, you have to have been in the field for, I think, 10 years. I should look this up, 10 years, but you have to have been in your current job for a certain period of time. I can look it up maybe while we're asking questions, but it's a great program. It gives $50,000 for the individual to take a break. And more importantly, Foraker and others help contribute to making sure that the organization can continue to run effectively while that leader is out. So please take a look at that program. I highly encourage people to apply if they're eligible. And then again, individual artist awards. There's a lot of opportunities for Alaskan artists. We did project awards this year, and so in 2026, we'll be giving out $25,000 fellowship awards. Details for the individual artist awards can be found on our website, and $50,000 for a distinguished artist that's selected every year by a panel. This year it was Jerry Lakota from Kodiak Island, and there's a great little mini documentary about his work and the work he's done preserving Alutiiq carving here in the state. Okay, really simple how to apply. I want to say this. If you are wanting to apply for strategic funds and the Tending the Future funds that I talked about first, I'll close this slideshow in a minute and I'll put my email in the chat. I'm the best person to connect with for those. Typically what that would look like is you might share your idea. If I think it's eligible, I think it's close to what we're doing, I'll be happy to set up a time to chat with you, get to know you, learn about your project some more. And if it seems promising and seems like something we have to fund, then we'll usually invite you to apply then. So for the strategic grants, for those after school programs to reopen, you could connect directly with me. There'll be a request for proposals for the local convenings that you'll see come out in probably late January, early February. Again, I'll be the contact for that. For our core grant making, you can go ahead and just apply right online. And of course, use the booking links to connect with the program officer. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for having me today, and to Trevor for offering the time. I'll go ahead and close my slideshow so I can see you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions people have.
Okay, you just taught me. All right, thank you. Questions? No questions. Wow, you're good.
Thank you, Isa. I'll go. This is Stephanie from Thread. Thank you so much. Isa, can you talk more about the grant cycle? You said well, first of all, thank you. Like, this is an amazing investment. So thank you. And just wanted to acknowledge the foundation and all of the incredible investments and leadership happening. And thank you for acknowledging childcare. For the grant cycle starting in January, will that be the one for the next 2 years, or do you anticipate that there'll be others?
Yeah, so usually when we do a fund, that's a great question, Stephanie. This will be sort of the initial plan for the next 2 years, is to host these convenings. I think what I would say is the foundation hasn't typically sort of used this process, so this will kind of be new for us too. So I will say this, it'll be interesting to see how many requests we get back, how many grant requests we get back. If we get back 4 or 5 and we really feel like there's a little bit more funding, we might come out with the second one later. We get 8 or 10 really good requests that really are statewide, that really cover it, then we might say, okay, we won't do another one. So I won't say that I'll commit to this is the only one that will ever happen. I think we're really interested to see how this goes, how this works. The great thing about the foundation is that, we don't know what the really good ideas are until you tell us. And so that's one of the things about this that we're really looking forward to, is to be able to have communities come back and be able to provide some sort of plan that we hope, one, helps you come back and maybe talk to us about a project or funding or some supports to help you achieve it. But more importantly, help you with a plan that you can use with other funders, that you could go to other people and say, we have a plan, this is our plan, and this is how we're going to build sustainable funding for our community. And so for now, the one plan is that we'll do this one in January. We'll kind of see how many applications we get, how many projects, and then I think that will give us a really clear answer. But I would say if you're interested, please don't miss this deadline, because it's not like it's an annual thing we'll continue to do. And from the award period, we'll give communities a year to complete that summit and convening. So you don't expect a really short time, narrow window where we're saying, sorry, you can't, you have to do it in the next 3 months. We understand planning takes time and invitations, and you want to plan a date that your stakeholders can come. And we want to see diverse stakeholders, policymakers, their business leaders, childcare providers, right? And so we understand that will all take time for communities. And nobody works in July. Barely anyone works, nobody works in July, and June and August are tough. So we know those 3 months don't exist. We have too many other important Alaskan things to be doing at that time. And again, when it comes out, I'll be sure to send out to everyone here the FAQs, the application, how to apply, and there'll be lots of opportunities for people to connect with me directly during that time that it's open, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Other questions? Okay.
This is Kimberly. I have one if
Please.
that's okay. I was just trying to understand the child care grant. It seems like it was focused on after school care. Is it not for like regular child care throughout the workday?
Yeah, so the Tending the Future Fund, the strategic grant is super focused on reopening after school care slots. That can be for elementary kids, so it could be kindergartners, but it's not for the workday for like our 0 to 5 range that we tend to think about. It really is for the after school slots. Again, we know there's need in the 0 to 5, certainly. The foundation was just really kind of looking at where can you make a really tangible impact, and that need is super vast and high. And so we started with the after school programs. Certainly 0 to 5 programs are eligible for those other grants I outlined, tier 1s, community supports, and legacies, though this isn't funding that can help you, say, with operating expenses. That's not how those grant programs are set up. But if you need tables, right, this is a good opportunity for maybe you to get a tier 1 where we can buy you the tables or classroom supplies you need, freeing up some of your unrestricted other dollars to help with those other operating costs. So, those are some of the things you can think about in our other grant making.
Okay, thank you. And if we have specific questions like about our particular programs, would we reach out to you or someone else?
I encourage you to use the booking feature on our website. Let me quick find it, and I'll post it in the chat. Because that's actually the best way to talk to a program officer. Let me go ahead and hold this up.
So one of the questions in the chat was, would you send or share your email address? But do you prefer people to go through that or email you? What is the best?
Yeah, I'll say for general grants, I'll even write it in the chat. So you are interested in a tier 1, a community support, a legacy, sabbatical, any of those programs, I encourage you to use that booking feature I just put right in the chat. You go ahead on this website, you're going to say, I want to inquire with a staff member. You fill out the general interest, what you're interested in. You're going to choose the date, and it's going to put an appointment right on a program officer's calendar for you. And so if you're interested in any of those general grants, that's the best way to do it. If you're like, I don't know what my group really should do, I just want to talk to someone for 15-20 minutes about what we do, that's a great tool. Use the booking feature. If you're specifically interested in the after school care funding for the strategy side, I'll say strategic grant, that's the after school care funding and the upcoming local summits. You can feel free to email me, and I'll put my email in the chat.
Fantastic. And then one of the questions came from Stephanie, and I would do the same, is do you have like a write-up or a link that she could share out through her extensive contact list at Thread, and Children's Trust could do it as well through our newsletters, anything of that nature to, again, help spread the word?
Thanks. First off, you guys, I worked at Catholic Social Services for 15 years in the refugee program. I put my email as cssalaska.org. Please don't email my CSS email. It's just like so natural because it's the same email. So please use my Rasmuson email. It's like second nature when I go to type something. It's not funny. Okay, so use my Rasmussen email. Don't email me at Catholic Social Services. When the local convenings come out, we will have like a one-pager sort of advertisement. I'd be happy to provide that to you, Stephanie, for you to send out to your broader group, because I think before then it's not quite solid information. We want to really give people the really obvious. This is exactly what it is. There'll be a nice FAQ, and it would be great if you could share that with your community when it's ready. And I think hopefully end of January, beginning of February.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Question, and I hope it's not too specific, and if it is, we can chat offline or whatever, but I'm curious with the after school programming, if you've ever supported communities like through a third party where it could be offering funding to families to choose which program they want to go to, as opposed to going directly to a particular after school program.
Yeah, we haven't done scholarships. It's kind of like sort of a scholarship or a stipend sort of thing. We haven't done that. We certainly would be interested in talking to the provider about the challenges they're having and families accessing after school care. So we know some of the organizations we provided support to are offering, they may have a fee or they may be offering their services for free for after school care. And we may recognize that they may use some of our funding to subsidize the cost of that care, right? As long as they have a long-term fiscal plan that the program does come sustainable at like year 2 or year 3, right? The goal isn't to reopen a site that we know is doomed in a year, right? And so what I would say is like the fund is not really intended for like stipends directly to families, but if we knew of a provider who said, we really are going to use your money and these other monies to make it so that it's accessible for everyone and offer scholarships for youth who aren't able to do it, or offer a subsidy for the gap between what child care assistance pays and what the actual cost of care is. That's certainly something we'd want to talk to that provider about. That's not an automatic no for us. It's really about understanding what the long-term sustainability is of the site, because we want to reopen sites that are sustainable. So making sure we're talking to partners about that and looking at financials and like what their estimates are for time. So actual stipends to families, no, but if the organization that's applying is using some of the funding to help with stipends or scholarships, that would be an automatic no to us, from us.
Okay, thanks.
That's a great question. I think that's probably, unless others have questions, thanks for having me. I have my email there. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to chat. I've met some of you and had meetings with you already. I have a meeting with one of you next week to chat about your community. And so that's really how we learn about what's needed. And so I just want to appreciate that you listen to me, and I look forward to listening to all of you about what's going on in your communities, and hopefully helping increase at least the after school child care network, which does help. I mean, everything helps at this point, right? It does help. And then also just thinking about the playgrounds, hopefully we could build at your facilities, or expanding classrooms, or helping fix whatever it is that you might need in your facilities. Also look at those options in the coming year. Thank you so much. Have a good holiday.
Well, again, thank you. Ditto what Stephanie said. Really love this investment. And thank you all for joining us. Happy holidays. I will send an email out with the recording as well as the slides and any additional information. So again, happy holidays, and see you all in the new year. Take care.
Thank you.